William BIA speaks out against Thunder Bay's proposed homeless village. Good evening and thank you for joining us. The BIA says it has many concerns about the city's plan for a temporary homeless village somewhere in the downtown South Core.
It's part of Thunder Bay's 10-part human rights-based community action plan. BIA members had a lengthy meeting with city officials earlier this week on the controversial project. Jaden Billick reports.
We need more information. Information that they gave us was very useful, letting us know what it is and what it is not going to be, but there are definitely questions.
The Fort William BIA's Tony DiPaolo says they need to know more about the two potential locations for a homeless village before they could say what site they prefer. The Cam River Heritage Park has space for a 100-unit facility costing $5.9 million, and the location on Miles Street East has rooms for 80 units costing $4 million. The annual operating cost for either site is estimated to be at least $1.5 million. DiPaolo says with roughly 200 homeless individuals in the existing encampments, there just wouldn't be enough space for everyone.
The structure, I think we need a property that for expansion. There's no doubt that this is a growing problem. If we're going to spend money on infrastructure, make sure that it can be expanded, or else we're looking at another location added at some point in the future.
The Fort William BIA also wants to know exactly how the proposed village will operate in terms of regulation, protection, and the timeline of what the city is calling temporary living.
One of the locations in Kitchener, Ontario, which this is modeled after, started in 2020. It is now 2024. And up to today, out of the 50 people that they moved into this area, only 6 people have transitioned into housing. It's a pretty low stat, so 44 people out of the 50 are still, original people are still there. Obviously they moved 6 more in. So how temporary is this?
DiPaolo says the BIA has inquired about additional location possibilities and are still waiting for a response. Jaden Billick, TBT News.
And the city has now launched an online survey on the proposed homeless village on its Get Involved Thunder Bay website. The survey, which was released today, starts with information about benefits of the plan and details about the two potential sites at Miles Street and the Cam River Heritage Park. The city says the results will help inform administration's recommendation to council on the best place for the village. The survey includes just 4 questions, including whether respondents live or work in downtown Fort William and how often they visit that area. The key question asks participants which of the 2 sites they prefer. Residents can participate in the survey until next Thursday, October 31st.
Members of the Thunder Bay Police Board met this morning at their new office space on Victoria Avenue.
The top item on the monthly agenda was the third quarter budget variance report, but it was also the first chance for media to question police leadership about the probe launched 2 weeks ago by Ontario's Inspector General of Policing. Riley Cohen reports.
It was a brief meeting of the police board as Police Chief Darcy Fleury was absent. Deputy Chief Ryan Hughes spoke to the media after the meeting about the ongoing probe into the Thunder Bay Police Service. Inspector General Ryan Teschner launched his inspection on October 10th following the complaints from families about the police services handling of sudden deaths of Indigenous people in Thunder Bay. That inspection is just the latest external probe of the city's police force over the past 7 years.
It's unfortunate. It's hard on our membership to be under investigation once again. Our members are doing good jobs on their investigations, and the inspectors coming in to do their job and to see if there's areas that we may need to improve on. But I know the investigations that they're talking about, and there were, in my opinion, that they were well done.
We want to ensure that there's effective policing for everybody in the community, and especially our Indigenous community. We know that that's an issue. We know that there's been recommendations specific to that, and it's our goal to work with them.
While that inspection looms, another thing the police board have been working on is finding their own location. The board had been renting the Valhalla for monthly meetings, but now they've got this new space on Victoria Avenue East to use. Board Chair Karen Machado also notes the savings that come with the police board having its own space.
With the move here, we estimate we're approximately $20,000 in savings between costs of the IT stuff that we were paying for and costs of renting at the Valhalla Inn.
And with the police force currently being $1 million over budget at this point in the year, saving money anywhere they can definitely helps. Hughes spoke about that significant budget variance.
The operating budget is always a hot topic because our expenses are always up. It just depends on what is happening in the city, and we are one of the busier cities in Ontario with what happens here. So it does generate a lot of overtime. We have a heavy substance abuse and vulnerable population in Thunder Bay, which puts demands on our frontline staff, which generates overtime. So we monitor it.
Riley Cohen, TBT News.
Police have charged the driver involved in a pedestrian collision last month in the County Fair parking lot. The victim is still in hospital with life-threatening injuries. And yesterday, Thunder Bay Police charged the 24-year-old driver with dangerous operation causing harm and other offenses. The accused has been released with conditions after a court appearance earlier today.
Contractors working on a new low-income housing development on the corner of Huron and Hudson Avenues will begin blasting bedrock next week.
That news came as a surprise to those who live in the neighborhood, not only about the blasting, but also that people with mental health and addiction issues could live in some of the units. Residents held a meeting last night to discuss their concerns. Brendan Miller was there.
Dozens of people living in the Huron-Hudson area gathered at North End Rec Center to discuss the housing project they know little about. The 72 low-income apartment units are being built by Ontario Aboriginal Housing Services. The first two 12-unit buildings are under construction along Huron Avenue. But blasting is required for the other 4 similar buildings that will go up behind them. Meeting organizer Rob Joblin says the nearby neighbors are less than pleased with how things have been handled.
Nobody's come around or told us, and it's going to be a significant impact in the neighborhood, and it went from 2 buildings now to 6 buildings, went from drilling to blasting, and now we just found out as of last week the blasting is going to commence on Monday, and there's a lot of people concerned about a lot of things. There are kids that attend Advanced Chapman School, property values, and whatnot.
Current River Ward Councillor Andrew Folds attended the meeting as well to hear from his constituents and try to help them understand the process.
I mean, this has been a theme for my last 2 ward meetings, and that's part of my job is when people ask me questions, I feel it's my responsibility to try to get good information to them.
We're concerned about obviously what that brings, and it's changed as we've gone along. And first it was affordable housing, and then basically they got, I guess, some grant money, and it's changed. Some of it's going to be for mental health and addiction, and so we just keeps changing as we go, and we're getting concerned that maybe all the buildings will become that, or 2 more will become that, and then the dynamics of the neighborhood will be totally changed.
The project's contractor, RJ Concrete and Construction, says the blasting of the bedrock will be a daily occurrence over the span of 2 months. The contractor says each controlled blast will be very small to reduce the impact on the neighborhood, and they're confident that there will be minimal disturbance to the residents or the school. Brendan Miller, TBT News.
Well, the battle is heating up over bike lanes in Ontario.
Cyclists held a rally outside Queen's Park last night. They want the government to backpedal on new legislation that limits bike lanes in the province.
The debate over bike lanes has many people in one of 2 lanes, with Mayor Olivia Chow saying this morning,
"We can fight congestion, but also keep people safe."
Chow speaking in response to legislation tabled by the Ford government that would make municipalities clear any future bike lanes that would take out an existing lane of traffic. The Premier also saying that bike lanes on Bloor, Yonge and University would come out in order to relieve congestion. Chow says,
I hope that the provincial government would provide more support to build the Eglinton East Scarborough LRT, the Waterfront LRT, open up the Crosstown LRT in the Finch. There's so much to do on dealing with congestion, and we could work together.
The Premier quite vocal yesterday in question period about bike lanes.
Your left-wing regime of don't build anything, let's kill businesses, let's all go around and hop on our bicycle and go down the crowded streets that are just absolute insanity right now on Bloor, on Yonge, on University.
Last night at Queen's Park, cyclists staged a rally in support of bike lanes and in opposition of this new legislation.
I think they're overstepping. I don't think that this is their area of expertise.
Doug Ford said you don't get to back up traffic to make a political statement. And I find that so offensive because cyclists, they're like everybody else. They want to go to their job, they want to go to school.
Cyclists saying that this is the deadliest year for cyclists in the past decade, and to remove bike lanes now would only make matters worse. Shantley Thong, CTV News.
Still at Queen's Park, the government is facing challenges from the opposition on a number of other fronts as well.
That includes Doug Ford's plan to dig a massive tunnel under Canada's busiest highway. CTV's Siobhan Morris has the details from Question Period.
With some polling showing Ontarians not so hot on the idea of a 401 tunnel, the NDP wants to know,
why is the Premier making commuters wait for some fantasy tunnel that will never get built instead of just taking back the 407?
Doug Ford hasn't totally closed the door to the idea, but he and his transportation minister have been adamant about a tunnel too.
We look at all solutions to these problems, whether it's public transportation, when it's a tunnel. We know the 401 is one of the most congested areas in the province. We need to improve productivity. We need to get people moving.
The opposition is also putting pressure on the government over reporting from CTV's Pat Foran about the sky-high cost of parking at Ontario hospitals and the stress that's putting on families of sick loved ones and the people who care for them.
CTV News recently reported on a Toronto woman who paid nearly $2,000 in parking fees to visit her mother.
The ask of the government,
will you choose people over your profit schemes, properly fund our public hospitals, and eliminate hospital parking fees today as a concrete solution to actually help Ontarians get by?
From Progressive Conservatives, no sign parking fees will be knocked out anytime soon.
Not only is there a hard cap on any parking increases, but in addition to that, there are special rates established for a 10-day parking pass and a 30-day parking pass.
Costs family members and hospital workers say remain a burden. Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
3 sawmills in the Northwest will soon have a new name on their buildings. Resolute Forest Products is being rebranded as Domtar, but the lumber produced at those mills will continue to be sold as Resolute Products. 3 years ago, Paper Excellence acquired Domtar Corporation in a $3 billion deal. Then in March of 2023, the combined company finalized a $2.7 billion purchase of Resolute Forest Products. As of today, all 3 companies will do business as Domtar. The sawmills in Thunder Bay, Ignace, and near Atikokan have operated as Resolute since 2012, but new signage with the Domtar name will be installed in the coming months. A company spokesperson says they decided to continue marketing their products under their legacy names, so each load of lumber from the area sawmills will still be packaged with the Resolute branding on it.
Winter is fast approaching, and as the temperature drops, demand rises for winter coats for those in need. That's why elementary teachers with the Catholic School Board have launched their annual coat drive. The Coats for Kids campaign has collected thousands of gently used winter coats and other items since it began. Sarah Pulowski heads the charity event, which has been running for the last 18 years. She's proud of the work the schools do for those who need warm clothing and explains what items they're looking for.
So in all of our Thunder Bay Catholic District schools, until the 7th of November, we will be collecting gently used and clean coats, outerwear, whatever you have that your kids don't fit anymore. There is a lot of need in the city, and we'll be collecting all of these donations, and then later in the month of November, we will be distributing them to people in the need in the city with no questions asked.
Anyone with coats in good condition that aren't being used anymore can donate them at any of the local Catholic elementary schools or the board office.